And now to CBS News Miami Investigates, and a follow-up to a story we first told you about last week about a mix-up at a Fort Lauderdale cemetery. And tonight, a family feels a sense of closure after learning that a woman who bought side-by-side burial plots will be laid to rest by her late husband. A funeral home had put another woman there instead, but tonight the city of Fort Lauderdale is making things right after questions were raised by CBS News Miami's Larry Seward. He tells us how the city of Fort Lauderdale stepped up for the family of Vivian George.
City staff brokered a deal that led staff here at this city-owned cemetery to dig up and relocate remains to grant a widow her final wish. Vivian and Ralph George spent decades loving each other till death do we part. And even with someone else buried next to Ralph, their loved ones found a way to get them laid to rest together.
My parents paid for those plots in 2013, and my mom wanted to be in plot number 3 and my dad in plot number 4. That's an acceptable resolution.
Friday, Brandy George told CBS News Miami Investigates her mom paid McWhite Funeral Home to secure side-by-side graves at Sunset Memorial Gardens after Ralph died. This contract shows the funeral director paid in full. 5 years later, the city of Fort Lauderdale says McWhite Funeral Home ordered the remains of another woman, Vanessa Samuel, buried here. In Texas, Brandy George discovered this days before her mom's death.
I felt confused. Because I didn't understand it when we had the documents.
She struggled finding solutions. Ari Pragan is her attorney.
Had this gone to a courtroom, we might have seen some back and forth between the funeral home and the city as to who was actually responsible for all of this. But at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the George family is concerned, the funeral home was a broker.
CBS News Miami Investigates asked McWhite Funeral Home for comment. No one responded, but the city of Fort Lauderdale did. 2 days after we shared Brandy George's frustration, the grave her mom bought has fresh sod surrounded by overturned dirt. In a statement, a spokesperson for the city says, quote, "We're pleased that the city was able to facilitate an agreement between Mr. McWhite and the families involved. The plot is available for Mrs. George to be buried alongside her husband, and Miss Samuel's family made arrangements and laid her to rest at another location."
I felt stuck.
Brandy George hopes to bury her mom as soon as possible, fulfilling Vivian's last wish, allowing her children to grieve in peace. Brandy George told us that the stress of trying to sort out this grave mix-up left no time to grieve, and there is still at least one more hurdle for her family. Vivian George's remains are in Texas, and those have to be relocated, something that the family is working to make happen. In Fort Lauderdale, Larry Seward, CBS News, Miami.